خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك ركي يا من بيدي ناصيتي يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاكتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك مأمورة وبخدمتك موصولة وأعمالي عندك مقبولة حتى تكون أعمالي والراضي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من إليه مأولي يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قوّل خدمتك جوارحي واشد العزيمة جوانه وهب لي جد في خشيتك والدوام في اتصال بخدمتك حتى أسر عليك في ميادين السابقين وأسر عليك في المبارزين واشتاق إلى قلبك في المشتاقين ودوى منك دنو المخلصين وخافك مخافة الموقنين واجشم في جوارك المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فرد ومن كادني فكد واجعلني من أحسن يبيدك نسيبا عندك وكربهم منزلة منك وخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا يناضى لك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك وعطف علي بمجدك وفضني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك واكلني أثرتي واغفر زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بإبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبذاتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تعتى من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملكون إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دعاء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله رجاء وسلاؤه البكاء يا سابق النعم يا دافع النكام يا نور المستهشين فضلا يا عالما لا يولم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بي ما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله وعلى أئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. Al-Fatiha.
Right, can we start with the salawat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Right, so we're journaling the Quran. You should have all these tools by now in your pencil case. We need to go through this sometime, but this is a color directory for all the surah. They all go through by that directory. This QR code will take you back to the past sessions, etc. That's the map. I promised I'd go over it again one more time. More than anything else, this is M14, or the Masumin that connect all the surah together. And I know by now, most of you, when I say this, you know, Walzam qalbi hifdha kitabika kama allamtani. I'd actually recite that before every time you recite the Quran, and you'll find that it makes life so much easier. So, as usual, we'll go through the focuses of each of the surahs, right? So, Fatiha, summary of the Quran. I need you to help me with this, okay? Baqarah, history of faith. Al Imran, Muslim identity. Okay, Nisa, the manifestation of that identity, and you will find in a community where there is a Muslim identity, there is respect of women. Okay. Ma'idah, perfection of religion. This should now come quite naturally to you every time you see that surah. And what we will do, inshallah, maybe, I don't know, wherever we get to, we will try and dovetail each one, and you will see how they connect to each other like a bit of a jigsaw. Okay. Araf, rejecting divine guidance. Okay. Anfal, characteristic of believers. Okay. Tawbah, exposing hypocrisy. Okay. Yunus, it's never too late. Okay. Hud, do you remember Hud? You've got to think about it straight up. Basics of faith, and it was past prophets, you remember, right? Yusuf, tawakkul. Can't be that hard, trust. Ra'ad, you have to change yourself. And Allah bi dhikrillahi tatma'innal qulub. Peace will only come from the remembrance of divinity. Ibrahim, even if you said just the du'as of Ibrahim. Okay. Hijr, the Quran and the Prophet do not need outside validation. Okay. Nahl, life has a purpose. Also, it's also known as the Surah of Blessings, right? Isra, do you remember we did Isra 17? The Quranic version of the 10 Commandments. Okay. Kahf, it was those divine tests. You know, we went through each one of them. Okay. Maryam, again, trustworthiness. And it's talking about Prophet Musa and Sayyidah Maryam. Okay. Taha, come on. Musa. Taha, the moment you think Taha, you got to think of Musa. Okay. Perseverance, all the rest of it. Okay. Anbiya. Oh my goodness, that's what we're doing today, inshallah. Now in Anbiya, you will find, although it talks about different prophets, the theme throughout the thing is accountability. The reason why people did not believe was because they thought they could get away with it. You will find, I don't know about you, I'm talking about me, okay? When I drive, I'm very cognizant of the speed cameras. If the speed cameras weren't there, I don't think I would go as slow as I should. Me, not you. Okay? And now I have this thing called Waze. And that tells me when a speed camera is coming. Oh my goodness, that's really good. So going fast, you slow down. And it doesn't work like that. In fact, I've got less speeding tickets now because of Waze. Don't ask me how many I have. But speed. So Anbiya is basically talking about account. When people are not accountable, they try to get away with it. And the Makkans had all these questions. In fact, they defied the Prophet, saying, he's normal, he's a human being, what's your problem? So the moment you think of Anbiya, you think of accountability. That's it. And in life, if you look at all of us, the main thing is, you know, my grandmother used to tell me a lot. When somebody did something wrong, she would say, Allah khofna injame, don't they fear of Allah? And today I say it to my children and think I've gone nuts, okay? But you carry on the tradition. Okay, let's look at Anbiya. So the first ayah is اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون. اقترب, you probably know, comes from qarib, which means near. Basically, what this is trying to say is that the audit, the hisab of accountability, is so near, but they're deliberately ignoring it. You and I should, every evening, every night before you go to sleep, take stock of our day. What did I do today that needs to be amended? The good things, don't worry, we sorted out. So here it's saying we don't realize how near accountability is. Okay, ayah 2. So what comes to him? مَا يَعْتِيهِم مِّن ذِكْرٍ. The reminder comes to them min rabbihim, muhdathin is like hadith, we talked about it, illa stama'u wa hum yalba'un. They only listen. You see, they only hear. Sorry, not listen. They only hear, but it doesn't seem to affect them. They mess around and they take the reminder lightly. There are two things in life, to hear and to listen. Here is quite easy. We hear a majlis. And if you finish a majlis and you ask somebody, what did she talk about? The same old thing. She prepared for 10 hours. She sat there all night preparing for a majlis, and you said it's the same old thing. I have to do this. Okay. Salah. So good. I love those hugs. Okay, next one. Lahiyatan kulubuhum. Their hearts are distracted. Lahiyatan means they've been distracted. Wa asarrun najwa. And you know, they get together and they talk about it. Alladhina dhalamu, those who are unjust. Ahla hadha illa basharun mithlukum. You know what they say? How can he be a prophet? He's so normal. He eats, he drinks, he goes to the market. You'll see it in Surah Al-Furqan. Afatu ta'tuna sihra. Do you know what? This is just magic. Wa antum tubsirun. You can see it's magic. How can it affect you just like that? I'm not sure about you, but even as a child, when Quran was recited, something happened inside. You know, there is something about this center, something about this farsh that makes a difference. And these people got together and said, there's something wrong with you, Lord. This is just magic. So the ayah also says that this is the power of company. That is why you're told, have good friends. Maybe one day we'll talk about friends in the Quran. But have good friends, have good people around you, because they can either take you away or bring you back. Okay, all right. 21:10. لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. We've given you everything in this book. We've revealed this book to you. Okay, now what does it say? فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ. I need you to remember that. It talks about you. He's talking to us, to anybody who reads the Quran. He says, Fihi dhikrukum. All these things in here is talking about you. All the examples I've given, when they happen to you, you use the remedies that it has given. So you will see the remedies that come when you're ill, when you feel you're in darkness, whatever. It talks about the other prophets. So what the prophets went through, we may go through as well. Prophet Ibrahim had a problem with his father. Prophet Yusuf had a problem with his brothers. There are lots of things. You found Prophet Yusuf being attracted to Zulaikha. And it says these things will happen to you in your life. But he says, if you circle that, fihi dhikrukum, it's talking about you, right? Now, this one, you don't have a sticker for that, but maybe I didn't know what to draw in that. You can write something about it. So I'd like you to look at ayah number 18 in your Quran. Obviously, you've got it on the screen, so you can have a look at it. It says, بَلْ تَقْذِفُوا بِالْحَقِّ عَلَى الْبَاطِلِ. And I need you to understand that a little bit, okay? قَذَفَ is to attack violently. So the imagery God is giving you and me is that if you can imagine truth, and then you can imagine falsehood. And it's saying truth and falsehood cannot exist together. فَيَدْمَغُهُ فَإِذَا هُوَ زَاهِقٌ. And truth will bash falsehood so badly that falsehood will disappear. وَلَكُمُ الْوَيْلُ مِمَّا تَصِفُونَ. And you don't understand. The two cannot exist together. You cannot put the truth and falsehood in one room. It just doesn't exist. So the imagery Allah is giving you and me is to close your eyes and think. I don't like thinking of people bashing each other. Okay? Let's talk about bashing somebody's head so much that completely finished. So if you can imagine something shattering, truth, when it comes in front, it's like the light. It's dark. And then when you put on the light, suddenly everything becomes apparent. So this is what it's about, okay? Truth and darkness. Okay, 21, 28. Now, up till now, if you look at that surah, it's not an easy surah to take into, but it's basically talking about warnings. I've just taken ayat that you may attach yourself to, and maybe if God gives us life, then we'll go over the whole Quran ayah by ayah. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُم وَلَا يَشْفَعُونَ إِلَّا لِمَنِ ارْتَضَى وَهُم مِّنْ خَشْيَتِهِ مُشْفِقُونَ. Now, what ayah does that remind you of? يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُم. What does it remind you of? Ayat al-Kursi. It's like, the moment you read it, you think, oh my goodness, it's Ayat al-Kursi. Then he says, وَلَا يَشْفَعُونَ إِلَّا لِمَنِ ارْتَضَى. It's like an extension of Ayat al-Kursi. You cannot have shafa'ah until that which with Allah is pleased with. And maybe somewhere along the line, you may read up, or we may do this, or we'll do a session of shafa'ah, because it's a subject that people get really stuck with. What is shafa'ah? How do you ask? I'm just going to ask about the imams, or I'm going to ask the Prophet, what am I going to do? So we'll talk about it. وَهُم مِّنْ خَشْيَتِهِ مُشْفِقُونَ. And you know what? The moment they think of divinity, the moment they think of accountability, it's not fear as in fear of the Rahman and Rahim. It's fear of oneself, and how will I present myself to him? Okay? All right. Next one, 35. Now all of you know this. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul will taste death. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And you will be tested. Fitna actually comes from fatana, which is purifying gold. Now, if you've ever watched a documentary on gold, it tells you how they take it out of the ore, and then how it gets burnt, and then you get pure gold out of it. It's not easy. So you and me, it's a blessing. The fifth Imam says, trials come to you like water put into the hot sand in a desert. So when we see somebody going through a difficulty, or ourselves, rather than say, bichari, or look at yourself and say, oh, God's looking at everybody in Stanmore except me, is to say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Nobody gives an A-level exam to a nursery student. And the moment you feel you're not being tested, say, what's wrong? What did I do wrong now? That literally is how it should go. Have I stopped learning? Have I stopped being guided? Okay? So when you see somebody being tested, or yourself, look at yourself as being, really privileged, rather than saying bichari. There's no such thing as bichari in this language. So, kullu nafsin zaikatul maut. And I've said this 100 times, but I'll repeat it again. You want to have a dua where you want to say that, Ya Allah, at death I am able to say, thank you for life. I did my best to make a difference to the world that I was born into. That's all. If that dua is perpetuated in my head all the time, you can do it in your own language, in your own words. But basically what you're saying is that you're telling yourself again and again that you want to make a difference to the world, okay, in whatever way you can. Okay, 37. Now, this ayah is quite interesting, okay? خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ أَجَلٍ. We have created the human being in haste. In Swahili, there is a saying which says, haraka haraka haina baraka. You hurry up too much, there is no barakah. Now, you remember we did Musa. When he rushes up to the mountain to see Allah, I think I remember the ayah, I've written it down somewhere. We did it in Taha 83. And Allah says, why'd you hurry up? What's wrong with you? That's why I told you, even if you want to pray, you can't pray before time. You know that? You want to break your fast, you can't break it before the time. I say that because I fasted today. Okay. The Prophet is told in Surah Taha 114. Do you remember it or not? Oh, come on. Go back to it. I think it's 2114 if I'm not mistaken. Do you remember where he's told, don't hurry up with the Quran? Aste, aste. Don't have to hurry up. If you and me see you sent a message and you see 2 blue ticks, you keep on looking at the phone, don't you? Why haven't they replied? So now they're really clever. They go into the settings and you can't see the 2 blue ticks. Unless they're on a group. Look, I've learned all this. You go back to the group, and they've seen the phone. And you say, what's wrong with you? You're not replying to him. Yes, that's a human being. So he says, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ أَجَلٍ. We have created the human being to hurry up. سَأُرِيكُمْ آيَاتِي فَلَا تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ. But you know what? Don't ask me to hurry up my signs. It'll come in time. So they are told, because they said, Muhammad, if you are truthful, but tell us then, give us the punishment. So he's saying, don't do that. Don't say that. Take your time, okay? But it's telling you and me also, enjoy every moment of your life. You know, when children are young, you want to hurry up and get them to walk and talk and potty train and cover and all the rest of the rubbish that goes with it, okay? Excuse me, not rubbish, good stuff, right? Everything that goes with it. Enjoy each stage as it's coming. Don't hurry it up. Okay, 2144. Right, now look at this. بَلْ مَتَّعْنَا هَؤُلَاءِ آبَاءَهُمْ. See, these people, the reason why they did what they did was they said, our forefathers did it, so we're going to do it as well. Tradition. This is what tradition says. So they said, وَآبَاءَهُمْ حَتَّى تَالَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْأُمُرُ. We gave their forefathers life. We gave their forefathers rizq as well. أَفَلَا يَرَوْنَ. Do you not see? أَنَّ نَعْتِ الْأَرْضَ نَنْكُسُهَا. We are shrinking their land. مِنْ أَطْرَفِهَا أَفَهُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ. Now, it's difficult to understand, but maybe I could give you the example. Have you seen election night? There was elections in Tanzania yesterday. So when you have election in this country, they show you a map. Sky News or whatever news channel you turn to shows you a map, and it shows you conservative, Labour, maybe Reform Party, Commune, or whatever, right? And the colors are red and blue normally, right? In the United States, you have the same thing as well. Now, you will find that as the night goes on and the election goes, the winner has more power. You see that, right? And therefore, the people who are on the other side, if I can say the ones who are the underdogs, their power is shrinking. So here Allah is saying, do you not see that the power of your forefathers is shrinking and the truth is increasing? Don't you look at it? Can you not see? Just like you and me. When I got married, and I got married 49 years ago, 50 nearly, okay? So, yeah, okay, don't look at me like that. One of the things they made me do was they cut a chicken and you had to step on the blood. Did anybody do that? Or you don't. We did that, okay? And then they made you step. You saw it, right? And they made you step on these two clay pots. And inside the pots was a pound, and well, not a pound, a shilling or whatever. And that was supposed to keep you away from bad luck. Wherever you went a week before, you had to take a lemon and a pin. I mean, are you serious? Oh, you're nodding. Great. Okay. Now, why didn't anybody tell me recite Ayatul Kursi and the 4 calls? My grandma did actually, but my mother was different. So Ayatul Kursi and the 4 calls. So now you can see, and I look at you as young people, the power of that forefathers is shrinking. And that's what this ayah is telling about. When you see the Quran, when you see the truth, the power of falsehood shrinks. So that ayah is, maybe you could put shrinking there, whatever you want, okay? All right, 25. Now he says, قُلْ إِنَّمَا. Now we've been telling you this. أُنذِرُكُمْ بِالْوَحْيِ. We will be telling you this by revelation, not by the news channels, but we've been telling you this. وَلَا يَسْمَعُ الصُّمُّ الدُّعَاءَ إِذَا مَا يُنذَرُونَ. But those who are deaf cannot hear. In other words, he says, you hear what you want to hear. Again, when I was younger, and I was taught to recite Quran, they told me Dhad was Zuad. Were you taught that? And even though I heard Abdul Basit 100 times, I didn't hear Dhad, I heard Zuad. Even, you know the Tha with the 3 dots? I heard a Se. I heard Abdul Basit every single day. Yet, I heard Se instead of Tha. So the human beings hears what you, even when you hear people, you hear what you want to hear. You take the information and you hear what you want to hear. So here it's trying to say, we're telling you the truth, but you only hear what you want to hear. Right. 47. وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطِ. The day of accountability is very, very just. لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا. We will not wrong you even for a bit. وَإِنْ كَانَ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ مِنْ خَرْدَةٍ أَتَيْنَا بِهَا. Even if it's a mustard seed of good you've done, you will see it. وَكَفَى بِنَا حَاسِبِينَ. And we will take you to account. Best thing to do, practicality. Every night, look at what you've done. If you hurt somebody, say, I'm really sorry, send a message, whatever you want to do. You don't want to phone them because they'll ask you so many questions. Just send a message and say, I'm really sorry for what I've done, blah, 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 whatever. But with Allah's sort of thing, I'm really sorry for all the things I did. I repeat again, He is not petty. The moment you say, Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh, He forgives you. It is us who don't forgive ourselves. So do that every night. Before you go to sleep, Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. If you cannot read Shab before Salah time, and I think Salah is so late because I know I woke up for Sehri, 5 something, right? If you can't wake up at 5, it's okay. Before you go to sleep, do wudu, read it in bed, sleeping down 1 rakat. Most of Salatul Layl, especially the Qunut, is istighfar. Al-af, 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 Rabbi kfirli, all the rest of it. Okay, right. 21:48. Now he talks about prophets. وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا مُوسَى وَهَارُونَ الْفُرْقَانَ وَضِيَاعًا وَذِكْرًا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Now, Furqan comes from farq, which means separation. And Furqan is a very powerful separator that tells you the difference between truth and falsehood. And remember who Musa was sent to. Musa and Harun were sent to the most, inverted brackets, naughty community. Like Khojas. Everything they want to know why. Asked to kill a cow, which color, from where, from how, which, when, the lot. Okay? I'm Koji. Not saying it for any other reason. So Furqan, وَضِيَاعًا, and it was a light, and وَذِكْرًا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, it was a reminder to those who believed, or rather who were God conscious. Then it talks about the Quran. وَهَذَا ذِكْرٌ مُبَارَكٌ. This zikr is Mubarak. Now when you say Eid Mubarak, or you say Mubarak to someone, you're saying, I wish you more than you even expect. But when you look at Mubarak, it means more than what you deserve. Quran says, Tabarak alladhi biyadihil mulk. Okay? If you think about what you and I deserve, I look at myself, I mean, He gives us so much more than we deserve. So here He says, this book just increases. The more you read it, the more it will increase for you. Anzalnahu, we have revealed it. Afa'antum lahu munkirun. How can you deny it? You know, in Surah Al-Rahman, quite a few times, what is the ayah we say? فَبِيَيَّ عَلَىٰ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Which of the ni'mas of Allah will you deny? Read the Quran, see the difference it makes. That's what He's saying. Right. وَلَقَدْ أَتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ. We gave Ibrahim maturity. I don't know what rectitude means, but it's a translation taken from Quran. Okay. So we gave him maturity, or we gave him rushd. Rushd is when there is an understanding. Okay. Min qablu wa kunna bihi alimin, and we know of him fully well. Now I was talking to the team today, and I thought, before we start Surah Al-Hajj, just like we did Musa, maybe we can do Ibrahim, because there's so much on Ibrahim that we do not know, that we do not do. But let's see how things go. Okay, so that's 51. We'll see how it goes. Okay, now what happens? إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ الَّتِي أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. What is this you're doing? Now remember, the place was Kutha, and the whole economy of Kutha depended on the making of idols. So it wasn't, it became a practice. Idols became something as part of the economy. And if you denied those idols, forget about denying the gods. You were denying your whole economy because you didn't have a trust in Allah. Now see what happens. We found our fathers doing this, and we've just continued doing the same thing. I'm not going to go in the practices that we do, but we follow our forefathers as well. If you look at the structure of majalis, if you look at the structure of our programs, they haven't changed for centuries. And if you ask any young person, will you sit through paraying and paraying and paraying and paraying? And they say, no, we can't. It doesn't make sense to us anymore. Anyway, so this is what they say. We saw our forefathers. قَالَ لَقَدْ كُنْتُمْ أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. He says, you know what? Your forefathers, it wasn't right what they did. I mean, they did what was right at that time, but it's not the same at this time. Imam Sadiq says, live according to the age you live in. قَالُوا أَجِئْتَنَا بِالْحَكِّ أَنْتَ مِنَ اللَّاعِمِينَ. And they said, what are you doing? Are you just messing around with our head? That's what we tell people who want to change. Okay? قال بل ربكم رب السماوات والأرض. He's saying our Rabb is the one who is the Rabb of the heavens and the earth. وتالله لقيدن أصنامكم بعد أن تولوا مدبرين. And he says, you know what? I have to teach you something about these people that you believe in, or these idols that you believe in. So what he did was he took an axe, فجعلهم خذ and إلا قبير, he broke all of them except the big one, لعلهم إليه يرجعون, and he put the axe around the big one. This is what Ibrahim did. And this was the day of the festival. Like I said, there's a lot we don't know. Inshallah, we'll do something on Ibrahim. So they came back, and remember, the first thing they do is go to their temple as such, and they see all the idols broken except the big one, and they say, who did this? Man fa'ala hadha bi'alahitana. Who did this to our gods? Innahu lamina dhalimin. That's not good at all. Qalu sami'na. Somebody said, we know a young lad, fatan, which means a young person. Yadhkuruhum yuqalu lahu Ibrahim. His name is Ibrahim. So qalu, they said, fa'atu bihi, call him, ala a'yunin nas la'allahum yashhadun, so that we may be able to ask him in front of everyone. Now look at what they say. Qalu, they said, anta fa'alta, twice. Did you, O Ibrahim, do hadha ya ilahatana ya Ibrahim, to our gods? Now I'll tell you why Allah is saying the conversation like Maryam, bit by bit by bit, because of its importance. Okay? Qala bal fa'aluhu kabirhum. Why, it's probably the big one. He's got the axe around his neck. Hadha fas'aluhum in kanu yantikun. Why don't you ask him? Why don't you ask the big one what happened to all the others? So they said, thumma nukisu ala ru'usim. They looked down and they said, laqad alimta ma hawla yantikun. You know that these gods can't speak. So they themselves are saying that these gods are of no use. And ثم نكسوا على رؤوسهم لقد علمت ما هؤلاء ينطقون قال أفتعبدون من دون الله. You actually serving something. You're actually giving so much attention to stones that can do nothing for you. ينفعكم شيئا ولا يضركم. No harm and no good. So he's telling them, what are you doing? أُفٍّ لكم. He's saying, what's wrong with you? وَلِمَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do you not understand? Now they got really, really angry. They were angry. These are the gods. Now remember, the anger is not only what they worship. They have said themselves that these stones don't benefit us. But they know that these stones benefit them economically. Okay, I'm going to take a minute to make you understand something we do. So many people ask that they have jewelry in the banks, because they were given jewelry when they got married. They don't do that anymore. Or do they? I don't know. So they keep this jewelry in the banks. Then they come once a year and they think we have to pay khums on it because we haven't used it. I'm not a faqih. I'm not going to talk about fiqh. So they tell me, Umi auntie, if we go to the bank and put it on once, does it mean we've used it? Who are we fooling? Who are we fooling? There's something wrong, isn't it? The way in our thing, okay, it's okay, you wore it once, so technically, inverted brackets, but morally, there is something seriously wrong. Is there not? Don't give charity if you don't have to. You don't even have to, by me or anybody else, saying yes to you. I mean, really? I'm glad these days you pay for bags in the supermarket. Otherwise, we used to take a whole bunch and line our bins with it. And then, is that not stealing? If I don't pay tax, it's stealing. Sorry, I'm really sorry if it upsets any of you, but it's definitely not right. And it got them angry because of the economics. It was affecting their pockets. So, kalu harrikuhu, let's burn him. Now, harriku is not only burn him. It means let's burn him so there's no part of his body left, nothing. Now look at this. They said it themselves. Let's burn him so we can help our gods, which makes it obvious that our God is helpless. They're saying it themselves. In kuntum fa'ilin, and that's what we're going to do. But you can hike up. You can make sure that people get so spiked up about something that they forget what right and wrong is. Okay? Now, what happened? So I'm going to give you a little bit of hadith, and maybe when we do Ibrahim, I'll talk a lot more. Just as they're preparing this big fire, and it's a massive fire. In fact, we have a wonderful story we tell our children about this little lizard who takes some water and puts it on the fire, and all the other animals laugh at him and say, "You, this big fire, even people can't go near it." He says, "At least on the day of judgment, I will be able to tell Allah, I tried. Even my little bit, I tried." And we tell children this because it's important to understand even your little bit will make a difference. Now, they can't even go near the fire, so they put him in a catapult. Jibreel comes down and gives him a vial. I'll do this when we do the story of Prophet Ibrahim. So gives him a vial, and I say a vial, a little packet and a ring. When he opens a little packet, it's like it's like a shirt from Jannah. And on the ring are engraved 6 things. Please write them down. Okay. And I'll give it to you when we do that. The first one is La ilaha illallah. The second one is Muhammadur Rasulullah. The third one is La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The fourth one is Wa ufawwidhu amri ilallah. The fifth one is, I'm going to say it in English at the moment, I get my help from Allah, and I'll give you the Arabic version. We'll type it all out for you. But the last one is, you all know it, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. And then he says, after he says these 6, he says, Bihaqqi Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. He doesn't even say, do something to the fire. Jibreel comes, say, help you. Say, I don't need your help. I need God's help. Don't say no to people's help, by the way, okay? Anyway, so says, and they put him in the fire, and what happens? Kulna ya naru kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. If your children have a temperature, if you have a temperature, remember this ayah. Just remember it. Write it down. Give it to them. Whatever you want. Okay. When you give their medicine, kuni ya naru bardan wa salaman ala, and please go to the doctor as well. Dawa and dua. Okay. Don't ever think that you don't have to do dua. Okay. Or dawa rather. وَأَرَادُوا بِهِ. Now what they wanted to do, وَأَرَادُوا بِهِ كَيْدًا, not war. Kaid is a plan. They planned and plotted against it. فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَخْسَرِينَ. And their plot didn't work at all. They wanted to put him in the fire and burn him. And he didn't burn. Okay? وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ. We delivered him. Now in this ayah, you can circle Lut. Lut was his cousin. إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And we delivered him and Lut, we removed them because they had to leave Kutha. Again, when I do the story of Ibrahim, it'll make much more sense. But they were told, they left Kutha, and Kutha was destroyed. وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. And we gave him Ishaq and Yaqub, nafilatan, as an extra. وَكُلْنَا جَعَلْنَا صَالِحِينَ. And they were good. Yaqub is Ishaq's son. Ishaq was from Sarah. Ismail was from Hajra. Just a little bit so that you know that when they couldn't have children, Sarah said, you know what, I'm going to free my slave Hajra and I'm going to give her to you because we need children and we don't have children in the house. So I'll give you Hajra. Sarah was the prettiest woman around, like really pretty. So she wasn't threatened by Hajra at all. When even Hajra couldn't have children, Sarah said, now pray to Allah Ibrahim and say, let's have a child. But the child was given to Hajra. And Sarah was very, very upset because it was her dua, but it came in a way that she didn't realize. When we go into this, we'll understand. But Allah is saying both of these were Saleh. The story is really interesting. It's like Musa, but we need a lot more time on it. Okay, now this is an ayah that is used for Aimma. Tell you why. So if you look at Surah number 2, we've done it, Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 124. Please look at it so you can remember the dua of Ibrahim. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى Ibrahim, when we tried Ibrahim, رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَيْتُهُنَّ. And then we told him, قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. We'll make you an imam, we'll make you a leader. قَالَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. The first thing he says is, what about my children? What about my progeny? And Allah says, قَالَ لَا يَنَالُ أَحْدِ الظَّالِمِينَ. It will only go to those who are not ظالمين. So this is 2:1-4. Okay? This is the dua. This is the dua of Ibrahim, and it's answered. And this is the answer. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً. We gave him imams from the progeny of Ibrahim. يَهَدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. We guided them. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ. Now what did we tell them to do? 3 things. فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ. Always do good. وَإِقَامَ Salah. Establish Salah. وَإِتَاءَ الزَّكَاةِ. And give Zakah. وَكَانُوا لَنَا عَابِدِينَ. And they were attached to us. They were connected to us. And then Lut. And you can highlight that. It's talk about Lut and how he was sent to a people. Now, they were evil because they actually hijacked the caravans that were traveling, and then they kidnapped young boys from there. Okay? When we talk about Ibrahim, we can talk about his cousin as well. وَأَدْخَلْنَاهُ فِي رَحْمَتِنَا إِنَّهُ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And Allah calls him Salih. And then Nuh, and he cried out. And you remember his dua? Any idea what the dua of Nuh is? Go for it. Tell me. The dua of Nuh. Any idea? Nargis has come up with one of them. I need you to tell me the dua that all of you and I read all the time. Rabbi inni maghlubun fantasir. You remember that dua, yes? Okay, good. Do you know where it is? You can look it up. So Allah says, we answered him, we delivered him. Now how did he deliver him? He said, I am drowning, because they were covering him with stones. How did the people who did that do? What happened to them? They drowned. Okay, there you go. وَنَصَّرْنَاهُ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا. With our signs. إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمًا صَائِنْ فَأَغْرَقْنَاهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. We drowned them all, because they drowned him or they covered him with stones. And then Allah talks about Dawood and Sulaiman. It's so amazing. إِذْ يَحْكُمَانِ فِي الْحَرْثِ. Now there's a judgment that's given. I'm going to tell you this story very quickly. Okay, I don't have much time, but I'll do that. So there is Dawood and Sulaiman. Who is Sulaiman? Dawood's son. And this shepherd and this farmer come. You see, there's a ayah, the word you need to underline is nafashat. Nafasha was a word when sheep broke out of the barn and they ran away. Had a word, an Arabic word called nafasha. So this shepherd, his sheep broke out of the barn, goes to the next door farm and eats up all the produce of the farm. So the farmer and the shepherd both come to Prophet Dawood to say, give us a solution. Now, Dawood gives them a solution, but Prophet Sulaiman is a young boy. He says, you know what I think you should do, my suggestion. He doesn't want to tell his father, this is what you should do. He said, this is my suggestion. Why doesn't the shepherd look after the farm until the farm grows, and the farmer get the benefit of the sheep of the shepherd until his farm is back to normal? This is what Allah is talking about here, okay? And we were bearers of witness to their judgment. So that's the judgment they passed. So Sulaiman was endowed with this amazing way. So he said, فَقَحْنَاهَا مَا Sulaiman. You know, faqih in Arabic is not somebody who is, this one says, sorry, فَفَحَمْنَا. Fahama is good, but faqih is not only somebody who does fiqh, but somebody who is understanding. And this was what Sulaiman was. وَكُلًا آتَيْنَا حُكْمًا وَإِلْمًا. We gave them wisdom and knowledge. وَسَخَّرْنَا مَعَ دَاوُودَ الْجِبَالَ. And you know what? Dawood had the mountains, they were declaring its perfection, and the birds were declaring perfection. وَكُنَّا فَاعِلِينَ. Now, if you're thinking of a Disney movie where there's mountains and birds, and because the next ayah says, وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ صَنْعَهُ لَبُوسِ لَكُمْ. He made armor. So he wanted to protect himself. So he encouraged protection. Allah says, we taught him how to protect himself with chains of armor. Today, when you say bulletproof vest, etc., it's all about 2180. It's development of 2180 that's gone ahead. لَتُحْسِنَكُم مِّن بَعْسِكُمْ فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ شَاكِرُونَ. Are you not grateful of what we have given you? Okay. And then Sulaiman, wali Sulaiman riha asifatan. We gave Sulaiman the ability to be able to control the wind, and violent wind, okay? And he would be able to talk to the wind, okay? 82. And then Allah says, وَمِنَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. Now what he did was he could control the jinn as well. He could tell them what to do. Shayateen is jinn. Even those who were rebellious, he kept them in their place. And then Ayyuba idnada rabbahu. When Ayyub, he had every physical ailment you can think of. But look what he says. He doesn't say, Ya Allah, look at what you did to me. He says, Anni massanni dhurru wa anta arhamur rahimin. It's touched me. Difficulty has touched me, but you are arhamur rahimin. I don't want to rush through this, but maybe we can finish this, because I think I can hear it's finished downstairs. So what we can do is we can finish Surah Al-Anbiya next week, and maybe, hopefully, do the story of Ibrahim. Is that okay with you? Because Surah Al-Hajj is about Prophet Ibrahim. And I thought after Surah Al-Hajj, if God gives life, then we could probably do, rather than go on to Surah number 23, which is Surah Al-Mu'minun, I'll just break it up a bit, and I'd like to do Surah Al-Yasin with you, because that's what you read on a Thursday, and maybe it will just, and most of you know it by heart. Is that okay with you? So next week, Anbiya and Prophet Ibrahim. I'm getting looks from there because they have to do all the work. So Anbiya and Prophet Ibrahim. Then we'll do Hajj, and then we'll do Surah Yasin. Now I'm just going to go over the dates. The next week is 6th of November. I think I'm here for that. 13th, I'm here. The week after that, you've got Ayyam Fatimiyah. So we will not have classes then, and then we'll start again. So as long as you're aware of that. So 6th, we will do Anbiya and Ibrahim. We might, if we don't finish Ibrahim, we'll continue on the 13th, or we will start with Surah Al-Hajj. Are you good? Okay, let's end with the Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Sadaqallahu al-azim.